invite you. I want.
I just got it, Rob. Say it
There you go.
again.
Christopher Walken.
I got it.
Christopher
Oh,
Sit.
for heaven's sakes.
Michelle, will these people just behave and act right?
They probably won't. What happened to the, oh, here we go. Switch to, I'm like,
Michelle,
Zoom
you
is
look like
changing
such a
things.
boomer when you look at your computer and do that. You look like a boomer.
I
Yeah,
forgot
well-
about all these backgrounds I had from like the COVID days. You know, here I am in 10th grade.
With hair.
with hair.
Carol Baskins, did you hear that they found her husband?
No.
Yes.
Alive.
They did.
They found him. He left her. That's it. He's alive as
What?
they come.
Are you
Yep.
serious?
No,
Hilder?
no,
Husband?
that makes
Whack it.
the songs that means the song is illegitimate
Go
now.
with the song, man.
Carol
Makes
Baskin.
the song like a giant turd.
Husband whacked him. Whack.
Right.
Ruins the song.
Wow. Is that you as a poop in the snow?
Yeah, this is just JJ.
No,
Jimmy
go back,
Walker.
Go back one
What
more.
in the world are we doing?
Go back
This is
one.
me on a youth retreat in Washington right before I moved here.
As a poop emoji?
It's a poop emoji. I was sledding in a poop emoji.
It looks like you have a binky.
I did. There was a
Okay.
binky, and I had goggles on to protect my eyes.
A binky and goggles in a poop emoji.
Yeah, Michelle. Do you ever do things like that? When's the
No.
last time you did something like that, Michelle?
I've got so many more of these from the COVID days. I don't know how many to pull out.
Maybe we
I will
should-
admit that when the poop emoji came out, I looked for reasons to use it for a little while because I thought it was kind of funny.
Look at Michelle. She's a human. Uh-oh. Let's
Dear, there's David Hasselhoff.
love it. So Michelle,
made
what's like
fresh.
the worst, craziest thing you've done recently? Like just like, oh my gosh, I'm wild. This is crazy. Like I got my leg warmers, or like what's the worst you've done? We can handle it. We're ready to give you grace. It's got to be wild. Just, oh my gosh, I lit my
Well, I don't think I
neighbor.
can say that on the podcast.
Well, if it's recent, I hope you can.
I had to watch a movie for school called Lars and the Real Girl, and we won't talk about what all it was about. But I was required to watch it. Y'all can go watch it for yourself.
I'm not
I
gonna
mean,
put it in my
It wasn't
Disgusting.
inappropriate at all. It was kind of sappy and cute and all that. But
I was
Don't worry.
thinking like
um,
slight chance of getting arrested. You know, like, hey, I went and toilet papered my neighbor's yard because I didn't like the way they looked at me. Nothing like that.
no, like I'm the person
Not like
that
I
goes
jumped
and
over a
helps.
fence and like went swimming in my neighbor's pool. Nothing like that.
Can I recommend that we
No.
not confess to any crimes on our podcast? If there are?
Yeah, I think that's probably a reasonable thing. It's good that I don't have any crimes to confess.
I don't either, but I
Or
think it's
like-
a general rule of our podcast that we will not confess to crimes on the podcast.
Yeah,
Or like maybe like driving through the Walmart parking lot, just nicked somebody's car and then peeled out and ran away.
no, not me.
Nothing? Okay.
No, I can't get away with anything. You know?
Oh, well, before this new tenant moved into your house, you should watch a movie that's kind of scary about like a crazy tenant moving in and kind of get you.
No,
Like before I went snowboarding, I watched a documentary on avalanches just to kind of get yourself used to the idea of what could happen with your new tenant.
thank you. In the
No.
Pentecostal church, we would say that you should not invite that kind of thing into your life by speaking that out into,
See? And
only
that's-
invite good things into your life.
Wouldn't that be like
Thinking,
watching an
thinking.
airplane crash movie on the airplane?
Yeah, stuff like that. That's what I'm talking about. Is anybody
No.
out there watching this do stuff like that? Like, hey, I'm gonna go camping this weekend, so I thought I'd watch like a movie where they got camping and stuck in a cliff and had to cut off their arm to get away or something. There's a movie about that. It's a real story. Some guy like hiking or something. He got stuck in an ice storm and had to chop his arm off. No?
I would not enjoy that. I do, however, one of my favorite movies is RV by Robin Williams. And I did bring it along one time when the kids and I took an RV up into the mountains. And that
See,
was
that's,
fun.
that's what I'm talking about. That's the spirit.
Yeah,
You know, like
I'm
you go
in
camping,
seminary.
you can
Philip.
watch a
I'm in-
Sasquatch movie. There's
Oh,
so many
always.
things.
I always
See?
watch those.
Told you.
No,
Or alien
I watched the
abductions.
one I said.
Okay.
Philip, I heard that Rob has a Harry and the Hendersons tattoo.
I don't have any tattoos. Apologize for letting me down.
I heard it's right on his shoulder.
Oh my gosh. Are you serious, Rob?
I apologize to
Harry.
I don't want to
Harry.
disappoint you. I do not have any tattoos.
Okay, well,
But if you would have one, it would be a Sasquatch, though.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
like a lifelike one or something.
Philip's holding down the tattoo world for the whole executive team.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
recommend it, guys.
Facts.
They hurt a lot. They're dangerous, and you can't give blood after that. So, it's 4
Really?
reasons not to do it. Yeah, they won't let me give blood because I'm not safe. Because I
Huh,
have
I
tattoos.
didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
That's true.
Okay.
But if you're ever in need, we could set a tap up and get you going somewhere. We could figure it out.
Thanks, friend. I had this vision of two of us laying in the hospital with a,
Yeah.
two
Oh, I was-
traveling from one bed to the other.
Yeah, there wasn't a hospital in my scenario. It was more like I'll go upstairs so gravity works and we're gonna run the hose down to you. I don't know. I'm just really silly today.
I'm trying to figure out where we are right now.
We don't know where we are, which is
Navigating.
part of the problem.
I
think
can-
it's time.
I could tell you where we're at. You want to know? We're at
Mount Rainier.
game time. It's time to play a game.
Here we go.
Game time. Now,
There's the gorilla that was on my film.
Oh, that is Sasquatch. Ready? Behind me is a Sasquatch print, as y'all know. It is believed to come from that Sasquatch.
As if there are multiple Sasquatches that we know of.
There are. It's a whole species. You were there for my talk. It's a species.
Your talk was very good, Rob. I have to hand it to you.
yeah, I haven't
Wait,
watched.
sorry. Go with your game.
I'm scared of
Yep.
intimidation. Okay, here we go. This is a really serious game, only for people who take things seriously. And it's called 5 Things. Have you ever heard of it? Okay, perfect. And then this sets me up to win. The first thing you have to do, 5 Things is, I'm going to read this off the official instructions. 5 Things is an improv game you can play over Zoom to encourage team building. I don't feel close to you guys, and I'd like to feel closer. So here's how to play. Number 1, name a topic and a person. That person has 15 seconds to name 5 specific items within the topic. That player then chooses another topic and player to continue. All right.
Say that again.
So Michelle, pay attention.
Sorry.
You have
sorry.
we have to
I
name
got
a
distracted.
person. We have to name a person and a topic. You have to name 5 things about that person. And then you have to go on to the next. This is supposed to make us like each other better. It's like a trust fall, but for 2023. So instead of
right.
you having to catch me when I fall, you can just play this game. Okay.
Okay.
And people online can type them in too, because if they're having a good time with us, they'll join in. Okay. Now, here's the deal. First thing we're gonna do, 5 things about it. I get to choose, and I'm gonna pick Ray to go first because I know Ray loves games. All right. The person is Kevin Bacon.
Oh,
5 things, Ray.
About Kevin Bacon?
Yep. He's
I'm
Googling.
gonna
Okay.
skip this.
I was gonna pick
He's an
Denzel
actor. He's an
Washington, but I knew
actor.
it'd be too easy.
He's an actor.
Okay.
Okay. He is a white male.
Oh, hanging fruit, Ray.
This one's so
Hey,
easy.
hey, man, he didn't say what. Okay, so he's an actor. He's a white male. He doesn't play in any blockbuster films.
Wrong.
Blockbuster.
Blockbuster. What was Tremors
Wasn't
1
he?
and Tremors 2?
Footloose, dude. Footloose.
Kick off your
One.
Sunday shoes.
Animal House. I can keep going.
Let's be real.
Blockbuster.
Let's be real. Ray grew up different than Rob
Okay.
did. This is
That is
supposed to make
true.
us like you. I'm supposed to like you guys more after we play this game.
Okay. White male actor. He has not won any Academy Awards.
I don't know. Footloose was banging. Okay. That's 4.
No Academy Awards. All
One
right.
more.
And he has never been the world's sexiest man.
I don't know, Michelle. What do you think?
Oh my word.
Okay, that'll do. So Ray, you pick another
Gary
person.
DeCara Sedgwick, by the way, in case you're wondering, since like 1989.
He's what?
Gary DeCara Sedgwick. He was in Apollo 13, Ray.
Academy
Got an
Award.
Academy
winning-
Award. He's got
Yeah.
a Gold Award. He's got a Screen Actors Guild Award.
I'm looking at that too. He's got a lot of movies.
Guys, let's be
listed
real.
also.
Ray did not grow up listening to watching Kevin Bacon, which is why I didn't give him Denzel Washington. So let's
Yeah,
Okay. All right. I'll take one. I'll take the Academy Award off. Okay. He hasn't won an Essence Award.
Thank you for that clarification.
That would have been your safer bet.
that was pretty good. All right, Ray's got to pick somebody else and pick a person, place, or thing.
Oh,
Ray was
I
pretty slow.
gotta pick another person. I gotta pick a person.
You gotta pick one
A
of us.
topic? Oh, a topic and a person. You have to pick a topic. Oh, I gave him an easy one. You have to name a topic and a person. Oh, no. I'm lying to you. See, I can't read directions. Why am I in
Look,
charge
it's your
of that?
game, man.
I'm not even, I shouldn't, why am I even here? You
Just
just
tell me
name
what I gotta do.
any
Just tell me what I gotta do.
topic, and then the person is one of us 4 people. So just name your topic.
All right. Foods that people are allergic to.
And now
Wow.
who do
That's
All right, Rob.
easy. I mean, shellfish. People are just shellfish. I recently learned people can be allergic to the darker vinegars
That's weird.
because I am.
Oh, I haven't heard what you're allergic to yet.
I'm allergic to the darker vinegars.
Okay.
Gluten, the glutens,
No, yeah.
milk, or dairy products in general, and peanuts.
That's pretty good.
Okay.
That was pretty good. That was an
It's
easy
not
one
the
though.
top 5, but it's
Yeah,
pretty
Ray,
good.
Ray lobbed it up for you, but do you
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
feel
Ray.
do you guys feel closer to each other after playing this game for a little bit?
I do.
I feel like it kind of like I did a trust fall. Okay, let's keep going.
So I get to
Rob?
pick who goes next, right?
Yep, and a topic.
All right, so I'm going to go with Michelle, and I'm going to go out of character
Scary
Oh, dear.
movie. Scary
with
movie.
one of the themes that you always bring up with her, and biker bar music hits.
Yes.
To be easy.
I'm not good with the names of songs though.
Oh, Miss
Oh
Sutton,
my
better
goodness.
get on it, girl.
Anything by ZZ Top.
You gotta name it. You gotta name it.
Well, let's see. There's you. She's got legs, right?
Oh
That's-
my
that's
gosh,
ZZ
Michelle,
Top.
that song is from the devil himself.
Probably. You asked me. Oh my goodness. I am terrible with song names. Charlie Daniels, The Devil Went Down to Georgia.
She listened to that? Wow.
I
that is-
Alabama. What's the Alabama song?
Come on, Michelle. You gotta just imagine yourself in your biker bar.
I know. There
Sing
is
the
a
lyrics.
song,
Philip might be in the
Alabama.
movie.
Yeah.
How about Give Me 3 Steps, Leonard
Yeah,
Skinner.
yeah.
Oh yeah. There you go. She,
Uh,
she's put this behind her. She's picked up new.
yeah, I have put this
Assignment
behind
that
me.
tells a new person.
Dixieland Delight is Alabama. All right, so
One
that's
more.
4. I need one more. Oh my goodness.
She's been pressing
AC/DC.
towards the mark of her high calling.
Yeah.
Come on, Michelle. Biker bar songs from the 70s. You lived this. You were
Well,
this.
I know. How about oh, there's a song about somebody's wife calling a bar looking for him.
Well,
But
that's
can
the
I
best
remember
country
it?
song I've ever heard.
Yeah. Okay. That may
That
not
sounds like
be it.
AC/DC. You shook me all night long.
Okay. There
was
you
trying
go.
to- I was trying to help
Yeah.
you. I was trying to help you.
Thank you. That's good.
All right. So Michelle,
Yeah.
you gotta pick one more. I'm just glad Rob didn't say cigarette brands or something like that. And then we
As a former addict to something myself, I'm not gonna rub that in his face.
Oh, my
get 'em,
goodness.
Michelle. This is your
What you got?
opportunity.
What do you got, Michelle?
Yeah.
I
Got
dish
one
it out,
guy
but
left.
just know that I
Get
can't take it. I can't take it. I only dish it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay. So Philip, 5 things about the NASA space program.
Ah! Ah!
Why would you say something like that?
Because you love aliens.
Okay. Okay. NASA themselves have documented interactions with unidentified flying objects. That's
Yeah.
one.
That's
That's
different
one.
than alien. It's any- it's not identical.
They operate out of this atmosphere. They send things out of this atmosphere. They have some of the smartest people working for them. They say, Houston, we have a problem.
No problem.
And Apollo 13 was a very accurate depiction of the dangers of space travel. There you go.
See? You did better than I did
So-
with
Well,
biker
because-
song.
Because I got to make this about me for a minute.
Yeah.
Focusing on self-giving in a week. Not this week, but the following week, and I'd want to be selfish for a minute.
Okay.
Kenny's uncle JD was one of the prime developers of the Apollo rocket.
Whoa.
Really?
Nice.
On the initial
Wow.
team that took us from
There's a
Saturn
claim
to
to fame.
Saturn to Apollo.
Did y'all see the movie about the 3 black women that worked for?
Yes.
NASA?
Figure. Yes.
It was really good.
Was
Wow.
excellent.
Kevin Bacon was not in that movie.
He was not.
He was not in that movie.
He was not. But you could connect him to somebody within 2 or 3 moves pretty quick.
So I want to know from you guys, do you think that we were the first to land on the moon, or did we stage it?
Oh.
Oh, I'm not getting a tinfoil hat out. We've been to the moon, man.
We've been to the moon.
I know we've been to the moon now, but were we the first ones?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
To make you happy, the first humans on the moon. There you go. Taking all your stuff out of it.
Guys, that game was supposed to bring us closer, and I feel divided. I feel animosity. There's just maybe next time we'll do a trust fall. We're all going to go over to Ray's house and stand on his steps and fall off into each other's arms, and we'll do that during our podcast. Okay, I got to get to the point, guys. This is my favorite part, is just like stirring up stuff. It turns out I really enjoy it. But I'm going to stop doing that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stir up questions pertaining to this Sunday church service. So Ray was in the hot seat. We're in a series on loving like that. And there's online tests. You guys will be
Yes.
happy to know that I went on and I did my tests. I finally went on and I got my scores in. And well, like always, I talk a big game, but I'm probably not as good at them as I thought I was. But, anyway, so there's an online test But I did get a good one in Grace. I got a 97 in Grace.
You beat me.
Philip.
Yeah, I was way
You
up.
may have the high score.
I got a 90.
Really? But
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna flunk in bold, like way down, like F. I'm gonna flunk in that one. But
I had a 92.5 in Grace.
that's pretty good, Michelle.
Straight up
Not
90.
as good as you, friend.
Well, maybe you can get such a grade that it actually means you're weak and you don't stand up for anything, though. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see when we finish bold.
My only disappointing score so far was Mindful, and that we're not going to discuss that.
Oh,
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so if you guys watching this haven't done it, you go on, just type in "love like that" online assessment, and you'll find it. You got to give them your email so they can send you all kinds of junk. But after you do that, you can take the test and see if you're any good at it, and see if you can beat my score of 97. Keep in mind that I didn't share my other scores, but so Ray this time was talking about grace, which was really fun, and brought in a little old school soul hip hop in there into the message. But this was a really good one to me for our current culture. That's the way I felt, is like we are faced daily with opportunities to not show grace, to show judgment, to give people what they deserve. And so just for a little bit, we're going to talk about grace and hopefully hit it from a few different angles. But was there any part that you guys heard on Sunday that like I learned something about myself, or it was like eye-opening when you heard this sermon? Was there anything, or like for Ray when he prepared it, that's like, you know what, I learned that about me, or you got put to the test or anything like that?
All right, it's silence. I'll go.
Michelle's gonna go last because she didn't pay attention to the sermon in church. I'm gonna straight up say it, Michelle.
Oh,
I
okay.
had
Well, I got
technical difficulties all morning, and then I ran a class.
Okay. Yeah, she's got
The
reason.
podcast is where we get real, Michelle. You can take off. You don't have to just say I skipped church. Just say it,
Oh,
Michelle.
I watched her work hard, man. I watched it.
I did not skip church.
I skipped church.
Nope. I even pinned a comment that I was told to pin in the online church at
Isn't it
9
nice
a.m.
Isn't it nice to give you an opportunity to practice grace right now?
Yeah.
It's very nice of him.
How is it that he has a 97 on Grace? What is that? Yeah.
Somebody might have taken the test until they got the results they wanted, like we used to in elementary school.
All it
Where it
is.
says Philip has a 97% Grace, but Michelle's in the 3%.
I just love to stir it up, and my favorite thing to do is to pick on Michelle. I don't know why. I can't help it. It just makes for a great podcast. So anything you learn about yourself, I'm sorry, Michelle. I apologize. We can
I was gonna go.
Yes, because you have things.
I was ready because I shared it during teaching team. So for me, and I'm gonna preface this by saying I have not arrived. But one of the things that as I was pondering, Ray's challenge to us and the material in the book, and I started to realize that, I'm as judgmental at the outset as everybody else. Meaning I have these things happen inside me that are preconceived judgments that I make of people. But what I was really excited to see was, it was like God took me down a memory journey of me 20 years ago and me today. And though the judgments probably are still happening more than I would ever want them to internally, by the time I get to the interaction stage with people, which I push to even when I'm making a judgment, the Holy Spirit has empowered me to set those aside for the care of the individual or for the edification of the Spirit of the Lord. And again, I'm not trying to sit here and say I've arrived and I'm this perfect person that does this all the time. But I was excited to see that sometimes, and this is a reminder for all of us, sometimes when we're challenged to reflect back, we don't have to always come out the other side feeling bad.
Yeah.
Sometimes God will literally show us, you know what, keep working, but here's how far you've come,
Yeah.
and encourage you to keep going. Because I really did come away encouraged that God has really shown me how to show grace.
That's
Even
good.
when I made the judgment call in the early stages of the interaction, and God
Mhm.
just wipes it away. when I let him. Now, when I don't let him, that's no good. It doesn't end well. But,
Yeah. Was
but
good.
I'm excited that I'm getting out of the way more and more.
Mm-hmm. I think that's great, Rob. I mean, I don't see that as you being arrogant or saying anything, pumping yourself up. It's true. Hopefully we're all in process and we can reflect. We don't have to leave Sunday feeling horrible. Like we're bad. Sometimes you can leave from many times you leave the word saying, I am seeing progress. It's like going to work out. There's days that you go and work out and you're like, it killed me today. And there's days that you leave and you're like, I could not have done that 6 months ago. Look
Yes.
at what I just was able to do. And you celebrate it. That's a great thing. I think that's awesome. Not that you need me to say that, but I'll say it. I think that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that, I'll go since Michelle skipped church, but one of the things that I realized, I can't help it.
I know.
But one of the things that I learned was when he was talking about the parable with the workers, and we'll get into this a little bit more here in a little bit, but of different people putting in different work, but at the end of the day, everybody getting the same pay. That one really made me cringe. And I've heard that parable before, but in a new way. It just spoke to me because I am a person that I think stays nose to the ground most of the days, doing things and staying busy and working and whatever it is. And I sometimes can feel as though that should have earned me something. And I know that the point was on a spiritual point, not on a financial work point necessarily. But for me, it really did remind me to relax into the grace of God. And so that was something I need to be reminded of regularly. You could preach that to me about once a month and it would be received. So yeah, that was something I enjoyed. Anything with you, Ray, that you were like, I enjoyed reading this or just stood out, or I couldn't wait to preach this, or?
Because I'm reading the book as well as, preparing messages, and even still reading the book and not having to prepare messages for the sections that Pastor Rob and Michelle are doing, or that Pastor Michelle has done. I have really enjoyed the book because it is, as I think I said this past week, it's been a constant reminder to me that I need to entrust my whole life into God's hands. But there are areas that I can be deceived into believing I got this one, and realizing I really don't. And so this particular one on grace, while I believe I'm gracious and I'm kind, but there is a side to all of us where we're not gracious, where we prejudge people and we judge people. And for me, it was good. It was therapeutic for me to work through this as I prepared the message, being made aware that, hey, buddy, you still pass judgment on people, and I would rather you not do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We had some good staff discussion around this too, because the staff is reading it at the same time, and I thought that our discussion as a staff was really good. And I think all of us, I know Laura talked about the parable and how hard that parable is. So, I think that's pretty common for us to want things to be fair, at least when we're the people that are on the end of not receiving as much as the other guy. Then we really want to call the fairness card. Maybe not so much when I am at the top of the heap.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'll save it.
I'll save it.
I'm trying to figure out how to say something.
I can give you a second to think about it if you want. I almost feel as though, and this goes back to that parable, I almost feel as though the more we work on our relationship with God and our process of sanctification and getting things right, the harder we invest in that, like the more energy put into it, it can be a tendency to get more judgmental towards people who don't. So it's almost like the better you, or not better, but the further along in your process and your relationship with God you get, the easier it is to look back at other people and place judgment for them not like you want to shake somebody sometimes. I mean, grace is one of my stronger things, but I experience that too, you know, but it's kind of a warning to your longtime Christians, to your people who've been in faith, who have followed Christ for a long time. You might have more of a tendency to judge. Like, this might be a sermon that you need to hear more than others.
All
You
right.
think about the prodigal son story.
Mm-hmm.
So the little brother takes money and cuts and runs. Big brother stays back and continues to do all the things.
Mm-hmm.
When little brother comes back, big brother's not, hey, thank God you're back. Yay, let's have a party for you. He's not that at all. He has judged him.
Because he's been working so hard trying to do the right thing.
Yep.
So if
So Philip, this is in line with what you were just saying. I think what really should happen, the more intimately we walk with our Lord, the less judgmental we should actually become.
Mhm.
And so if you're participating in Rooted, whatever discipleship programs we've offered and this, that, and the other, you want to know if you're growing in Christ? Ask the question to someone else. Are you becoming more like him?
Mhm.
Because if you are, you're less judgmental,
Mhm.
way more gracious.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean you'll run a pushover. And we'll get into that this week.
And he can't
But it does-
wait.
He can't
It
wait
does
to
mean-
turn those tables.
It does mean that you're less judgmental and more gracious.
Mhm.
And you redefine fairness. This is where I was before. I've written it down because I had to really think of that. So my friend Michelle said about the story of the workers, this concept of those that had been there earlier and had worked harder and had benefited from the system for longer had a hard time with the equality that Jesus was bringing
Yep.
in this parable to all of the workers. Those that had for some reason been, say, overlooked and passed over and set at a disadvantage per se because they had not been able to find work all day.
Right.
To me, I think I'm going to say it better now. I'm wondering if this concept of fairness and struggling with the desire that we deserve our fairness and they are infringing on our fairness is not part of the battle that some of my white brothers and sisters, like I, had to deal with, of understanding why the racial conversation and the multi-ethnic conversation is of such a value in today's day and age, because
Absolutely.
it's about leveling the playing field. And speaking for myself, I had trouble giving up the thought that anyone was deserving of anything to catch up with me because I was already given what I would. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a lot of similarities in the
Yep.
parable.
And again, it's not judging anyone. It's starting with my own journey of realizing I was definitely once the worker in the parable that showed up early and said, "What are we doing for them? They haven't been at this." Well, maybe they haven't been at it because they were overlooked at the beginning.
Mhm.
Treated
Mm-hmm.
unfairly, and they should have been hired because they had clearly been hanging around all day looking to be hired
Mhm.
or looking for equality in the
Mhm.
example that I'm using.
Yeah.
That's deep, crazy.
It would
Good
be,
analogy.
yeah, I see the direct relation. I think it'd be cool to just kind of explain the parable. I don't have the scripture right in front of me right now, but I'll do my best to just paraphrase real quick. 6 a.m. in the morning, the worker, what do we call it? The landowner.
The landowner.
Landowner says, I'm going to give you 1 denarius for the day. That's what you're going to be paid. 6 a.m. Like 9 a.m. goes out. The landowner goes out, finds more people, brings them in, says, I'm going to pay you what I see is right. Then later on, 12 o'clock goes and finds more people. 3 o'clock, more people. 5 o'clock, more people. At the end of the day, it comes time to pay everybody, right? And
An hour later,
after some people showed up, an hour later, he says the last will be first, and let's do the last first and the first last, which means the people who were there in the morning at 6 a.m. working get to see the people who just showed up and receive the exact same amount of pay, and they watch it. They see this take place. And so that's basically, in a nutshell, a quick version of the parable. But yeah, I see the relation, and I 100% see that grace is just this overabundance of getting what you don't deserve. It's just amazing. And if you read that and you don't struggle with that concept a little bit, I'd say you're not human, man. Because we all do. So crazy.
And I think America or the West, let's let America off the hook. Let's let it be the wealthy West in my illustration, but maybe more so America or English influence whiteness, I would say. We have been trained in fairness.
Mm-hmm.
We believe as a core tenet of our value that you better treat me fairly. And when I say fairness, I mean treat me fairly. This defines fairness from an eternal perspective and instead. And I think the problem we have with it, I can speak for me again, is I have an American filter. I was born and raised here. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm proud that I was born and raised here. I'm proud that I'm white. I'm proud that all of those things. There's things I'm not proud of that have happened and things that I feel like I can fix. But the filter that I wear because of my place of birth and my upbringing is going to be that American fairness filter. And so the changing needs to be the changing of that filter to the eternal perspective, to where I rejoice with the fact that this guy got a job and he's still feeding his family that night.
Mm-hmm.
Because I could have negotiated, by the way. I could have said, no, I want 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would have turned me down probably.
Mm-hmm.
But I said yes.
Yeah. I'm going to just play. I'm just going to ask questions just for discussion purposes. So don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the questioner. Okay.
You said devil's advocate, didn't you?
Yeah. But I don't want to be an advocate for the devil. So I'm not saying that. But I'm going to just ask questions for discussion purposes. So why do we try so hard? Why, as Christians, do we wake up and have time with God? Why do we try not to? Like, why even bother? Don't shoot the messenger. This is for discussion.
that's a really broad question, because not every person that is since I'll use the term you used, Christian, not every Christian that wakes up in the morning is looking to one up every other Christian. Now, there are some that actually think that this is how I get ahead. There are some that actually do all the things they go to church, they're in counseling, they do all the things because they realize how broken they are and they desire to live a different life. Mm-hmm. There are Christians out there that accepted Christ as complete fire insurance because they were terrified into the faith, that if you don't do this, you're going to hell. And so and some of those people are now the ones that are either they're not in church because they found it not to be true, or they've been hurt so terribly bad that they're resistant and hesitant to come back to the church because who wants to come to get more abuse?
Yeah.
Then there are Christians out here that are just trying to figure it out. And this is not even touching those that are the seekers that don't profess anything, but you said Christians. And so I think that is a really diverse group of people that are seeking Christ for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think some of it might be where we've come from before, because I know the first part of after my conversion, where I really and truly became someone who was following Jesus, when I gave my life to him and submitted to him by faith, I had been exposed to religion. And what I had been exposed to was a series of rules. Now, some people in that same religion, I won't even name it, found Jesus that way, and those became aids to growing closer to Jesus. All I ever saw was I better do better to please the people that are going to judge me about how well I'm doing, which is not what Jesus ever called us to. I hope no one who's listening to this podcast, watching this podcast, hears us preach on Sunday morning, is in our care, ever thinks that impressing us is important. Mm-hmm. Because I'm going to go to Jesus and give them some special credence. I hope what they see is that we want to model for them authentic growth that is based on Jesus, not the checklist of look at how much better I am than so-and-so at memorizing scripture, which I would lose every time, by the way. So I picked that one on purpose. Look at which one it's not about being better than anybody or having the best quiet times over everyone else. It's about what you and Jesus need to do together out of a relationship, not a task list.
Yeah. Well, and to tack on that, I really hadn't, because I didn't teach this passage, so I didn't study it. But if you look at this in its context in Matthew, it's preceded by two other stories. It's preceded by a story about the rich young ruler. And then it's preceded by another one that in this Bible, it's titled Possessions and the Kingdom, where Jesus says that it's almost impossible for a wealthy person to go to heaven. And so if you look at this as a series of three parables about money and possessions, it's possible that what Matthew was trying to say in all three of those things is that people were far too focused on the here and now, the possessions, the being wealthy, and that what really matters is that we're going to have eternity together with Jesus. And whether we find him in the last hour of our life with our dying breath, we submit to him. I believe God's got grace for that. I'm not God, I don't know, but I believe he does. Or we've been serving him since we were little. We all are going to get the reward of eternity and being with him. And so, I feel like sometimes we look at everything so much in the physical sense, and that's what makes us mad. They're getting a bigger slice of the pie than me. I'm working harder than them. But I think that the reason that we work hard is, at least for me, is because I want to achieve what I have seen Christians who are older than me and wiser than me, and they are walking with a sense of grace and peace that when I was in my 20s and 30s, I was nowhere close to. I'm closer today than I was then. And so I think the reason that we work towards it is because we see the fruit of walking with Jesus and the peace that can be in your life. Part of the problem is that we give up along the way. People think, well, if the fairy dust doesn't come sprinkle over my head and I immediately get a peaceful life and a peaceful heart. No, it takes work to get there. You have to really partner with God to do it. But I think that's why we work at it. We work at it because we want something spiritually that we know is possible because we can see it in others.
I asked this question because I've been asked this question by people before. And my response is different depending on who the person is. But if I summed it up, it would be that I feel my experience has been that scripture has been like a cheat code book to get through life of the best way to do it. It's like if you were trying to conquer a video game or whatever it was, and you had this book that just said, hey, if you go down that door, like you're going to die. You could go down and see what's down there and you might experience some things, but it's gonna take your life or whatever. And I just have felt like my whole life the promises of scripture and the truths have just been so rich for me. And rich doesn't mean financial rich. It just means the best way. I feel like I've
Right.
made it through life with like cheat codes, like, and it never returns void. And I step back, and even though like I will find myself in the midst of chaos and storms, and I'm upset or I'm hurt or whatever, I can always look back and see God in it. And so it just like increases my faith. And so people who jump in on a life with Christ at the last minute miss that. You know, it feels as though to me. So that's what I've told people. But I just wanted to ask you guys that question because I think that's something that people get asked. I mean, a lot of people are afraid to ask that, but why
Mhm.
not? Why not just live it up? And at the last minute,
Well,
I'll look to God. But so,
well, think of it as a relationship. That's what I like about what you said, Michelle, and you said it too, a little bit, Philip, there too. On top of the
Rob,
cheat
your
code,
camera's off, by the way. Did you know?
it is because my internet is getting unstable, and so I turned my camera off because it keeps you guys from cutting out.
Now
So,
we're just gonna. Okay.
so you can pretend like that's me smiling off in the distance there. Um, but why is it worth it? It's worth it because anybody you're in a relationship is worth investing time in. And so when my kids ask me, why do we need to read our Bibles? Well, you don't need to do it to earn God's extra favor. You do it because you're in a relationship with Him. And so, how do you get closer to Dad? You go out on a date. You go hang out. And so jump. It's just to encourage people to see it as a relationship, not to get Daddy to love you anymore. I love them, whether we go out to breakfast together or not. I love my kids. When we go out to breakfast, I get to shower that love on them.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
know,
it's true.
love existed whether we were at breakfast or not, but we have that extra hour of just looking each other in the face and just being together. And
Mhm.
that's why it's worth it.
Yep. So true. Hey, I want to try something a little different on this podcast just because we have a few more minutes left. Why don't I just throw out a few quotes? Some from the book, some not from the book, and we'll just discuss it. Cool? All right.
Okay.
So here's one from the book. This will inspire people to get the book if they don't have it. When you judge others, you do not define them, you define yourself.
Oh,
Earl,
truth,
Earl Nightingale.
truth.
Woo!
True.
When you judge others, you do not define them, you define yourself. Yep. Okay, here's
Yeah.
another one. Anyone can find the dirt in someone, be the one who finds the gold.
Oh,
Like that.
That's precious.
That's gold right there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone can find the dirt in someone, be the one who finds the gold.
Well,
Why do we
and
see the dirt first?
because our humanity. But I mean, I hate being human sometimes, but you know, the truth is everyone has some gold.
Mhm.
And so if you will look for it, especially in a person that seems difficult to find it in, if you will look for it and call that out in them, I mean, it actually can help somebody change for the good.
Mhm.
Oh my
So
God.
true.
I can't count the number of times I've encountered a student. Looks like my internet's a little bit better right now. The amount of times I've encountered a student who has been labeled with a negative label.
Mhm.
That just by there might be some truth to the behaviors that have gotten them. I mean, I'll be real with you. But you begin to redefine them by the good you see in them. And guess what starts to happen in the way that they feel, act, and portray? It begins. It can take years, but it'll happen because you said, no, you're not the problem child.
Mhm.
You're the creative child,
Yeah.
or you're unique, or it really makes a difference.
I had a coworker a few it was a lot of years now, probably 7 or 8 years ago, that was struggling with his daughter, and they went to counseling, and this can be shared. I'm not sharing anything crazy, but one of the things he discovered is that when he saw his daughter, so you know how teenagers are, you don't see them all the time.
Right.
Sometimes you see them all the time, but sometimes they're busy doing different things and you don't always see them. And when he would see his daughter, his first reaction to her was all the things that he had been thinking about that she needed to work on, change, or whatever. So he would greet her with, either a look in his eye of like disappointment of like, oh, you're still in your pajamas, or oh, you need to, you need to take out the trash, or you need to da, da, da. And it was putting a wedge between them. And the counselor advised them, when you see your daughter, I want you to first see the gold. I don't think the gold was the statement he made, but see the good in
Yeah.
her and begin to name the things. Oh, hey, man, it's so good to see you. I love your smile. It makes me feel so good inside, or whatever. To see the gold first when you see your kids or your parents or whatever, and not the dirt. That just reminded me of that story. But yeah. Okay, you got time for one more? I think we do.
Sure.
All right. One more quote. This one might be a little controversial. Where did I put it? Let's see. I put it. Don't place a pulpit where Jesus placed a table. Don't
Yeah.
place a pulpit where Jesus placed a table.
Yeah.
We agree? I think
Sure.
so too. I wrestled with that one this morning. And
Is
where,
that because we're pulpit and we're not rolling on the stage? Is that why you wrestled with that? Is
say that again.
that because we have the Pastor 1000 that we rolled out on?
Yeah. I just think it's so natural when we want to, even when we want to help somebody, to get into a preacher mindset. And pulpit is not a word just for preachers. That's a word for parents, anybody who's leading anybody, of like, we get into like almost like a sermon mode. Like, this is what you need to do to
Yeah, here's 3 points.
here's 3 reasons why you need to change so you won't be judged by me, versus help me understand. You like sitting at a table is like, what's going on? What's going through your mind? What's your, and understanding the person. Don't place a pulpit where Jesus placed a table, because Jesus
Yeah.
did place. I mean, there was a lot of time spent around tables and in conversation, and not as much time, quote, preaching. That is interesting, isn't it? That's not a quote by me. That's a quote by a very controversial person that
Yeah.
I won't name, because you might not agree. Some of the stuff isn't positive, but they said that, and I thought that was interesting, and I agree with them on that one. So.
I think, when you look at the life of Christ, he did preach. I mean, because he had huge crowds. And so he had to do that. And he read in the synagogue, and, they called him a rabbi. So he had to do preaching. But that's not the only thing he did. And I think that there's a problem when you can only be behind a pulpit and you can't be across the table from people. And that can be a temptation, to not be vulnerable as a pastor or a person who's on stage. You need to be able to do both. So yes, there's value in teaching a group of people together, but if you can't have a relationship with anybody where you're at a table, then you've got a real ego problem.
Yeah.
Sometimes even as parents, because I want to have the awareness that everybody out there doesn't consider themselves a preacher that's listening to this, but they are leading and mentoring and whatever else people. It can be much easier to tell your kids, I want you, do this, act right, whatever. It's a lot harder to sit down and spend an hour with them and really understand the why behind what they're doing. I mean, I don't want to do that all the time. If I'm honest, it's a lot easier to just say, here's what I need you to do, and stop doing this. And to extend grace. I mean, Ray, this takes me to Gracism, when we sat knee to knee with people and we start to understand who they are. That's essentially sitting at the table with them. And as soon as you sit close to somebody and you understand their background and their history, it's easier to not judge, and it's easier to give grace.
Yeah, the biggest blessing of this past week's message is that it's grace. It's the very thing that every last one of us want. And the flip side of that coin is it's the very thing that we need to demonstrate to everyone else. Because in like you said, in Gracism, you slow things down, you put your phones away, and you have a conversation with another person where you're just finding out all the cool things about.
Mhm. Yep.
And if we would do that regularly, I mean, you get to do it in Rooted when you sit across from one another and hear what's going on in each other's lives and how they look at the passage and how they've come to the knowledge that they've come to, or the fact that they're ignorant and they're showing up wanting to learn. It's relational ministry.
Hmm. It's so true. So maybe a good challenge for our people, because it's fun to do that, is to think of who you're struggling with in your life. Who are you quick to judge? Who's getting under your skin a little bit? Will you go and invest some time with them? Will you take them out to lunch? Not to change them, not to convince them of what they're doing wrong or what you don't like, but just to get to know them. Ask them questions. Tell me about your family. How'd you grow up? Tell me what you love to do. You know, what's your favorite movie? Just let them be a human to you, not an annoyance.
Philip, you're tiptoeing in the chapter of bold, because it says in that chapter, it says every person, they said they've done extensive research on this. Every person desires to be known.
Absolutely.
The problem is that we become fearful of what others will think about us when they get to know us. And that is the enemy's playground, our fear.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So true.
Oh my
So
gosh.
true. Wow. Well, that's good stuff, guys. I have literally no more good things to give to everybody. This is all. I'm tapped out. This is it.
There's nothing to receive.
It's
Yeah,
like
right.
if there was a limit. It's like I'm completely empty. But we're gonna sign off. Before we do, let's tell them about some things they need to know. If they've tuned in this long, maybe they'll come into something that you guys are advertising. What are you advertising these days?
Oh my gosh, you killed me.
I know one. We're advertising the big game,
What I was thinking.
the cook-off. How many categories are there going to be for this competition for the Super Bowl?
3.
3
Are any of
categories?
us going to have Ray making submissions?
Chili,
Okay.
or soup, chili or soup, appetizer,
Hmm.
Dessert.
and dessert.
And dessert.
Let me get this straight. It's appetizers, which Ray will find a way to win. Chili, which there might be a good contender in there, and Sue Walker.
Hey, Sue didn't win last year, did she? Did Sue win?
She did not. She didn't win. She didn't win the number
She
one.
finished second and third.
Okay.
Yeah.
That happened.
And this year, we're going to make sure there's blind taste testers. Nobody's going to know which appetizers Ray's or anything. Guys, we're getting serious. Hey, June.
I didn't even enter last year.
Yeah. So the big
Who
game
are we
coming
having
up.
judge this thing?
I don't know.
Is that right that we have judges after we've just talked about not judging?
Yeah, it might be the fireman guys. Is there anything else, Michelle? You seem uniquely busy these days. Is there anything, or is all your stuff launched and they've missed out on their opportunities?
No, they can still sign up for women's Bible study. So there's a couple of options for that. What are you saying? Ray's trying to tell me something.
Yeah, read his
There are
mind.
some other things they can sign up for.
Well, you can always sign up for an affinity group. What do you want them to sign up for, Ray?
Grab 2
Just-
friends.
That's
know that.
coming up for the next series.
6 weeks.
Oh, 6 weeks on money. Yes, you've got time to get in 6 weeks on money. Thank you for saying that. Yes.
Is it? I mean, this is just week 2 of Rooted. Can't they still slide in?
They
Mhm.
could slide in Rooted.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
If you know a parent that's got a student in our Engage ministry, Malcolm and I I've got plans for our big summer trip, which is a major mission trip. It is domestic, but it is ministering to those from around the world in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis. So it'll be people from Somalia, from across the Middle East, as well as tons of folks in a neighborhood in St. Paul that would be considered the least of these, and those that are often ignored. It is going to be a tremendous opportunity for your student to grow in their relationship with Jesus, in their leadership skills, and to experience a full-on week-long youth conference in the middle of a mission trip.
That sounds like a home run.
It's incredible. It's
That's
pretty
cool.
Check out the events page.
There you go.
That's right.
All right, guys, we're going to sign off on this rainy day. Thanks for hanging out with us. Bye. Eastlake Community Church is an intentional, multicultural community empowered by the Holy Spirit. We passionately pursue a loving relationship with God and everyone Jesus was sent to die for, here, near, and far.